started. We are live now, covering Major Hurricane John as it is rapidly intensifying. I believe now all the way to landfall. I am David Vela here, of course, joined by team members Ludicrous, so Groudon, Arctic, Felix, and Mike. How are we doing? Yep. Alright, Brett. Alright, so let's just get started. John is now rapidly intensifying, and here's the stats for you. They're on the bottom right. 100 miles per hour, category 2, with a sustained pressure of 973 millibars. Currently moving towards the north at 6 miles per hour. It is currently positioned 55 miles south of Punta Maldonado. The coordinates are there. I'm not going to read them out. And the next advisor should be at about 9 p.m. Looking at satellite imagery, you can see it from here. It's beginning to turn night. You can see a very good-looking eye there, as followed by a ton of convection practically everywhere surrounding this storm. Anybody y'all want to add on to this, or?
Yeah, I wanted to say that if you look at the satellite on the news stream, so the stats are from the National Hurricane Center. But if you look at the latest movement of John, it looks like it's beginning to jog a little bit more towards the west. So that could give it an hour or so more over land and would bring it further west. And would need to check where that landfall would then be. But yeah, that's sort of the thing with John. National Hurricane Center going with a relatively straightforward track, and the models have no clue what's going on, and I have no clue what's going on.
I think the storm is pretty much another reincarnated Otis, and I don't mean to compare it to that, but it really is. It really does give the sense that, this is rapidly blowing up out of nowhere. I think this morning it was at 65 miles per hour?
Yeah, this morning it was declared a tropical storm by the National Hurricane Center at this morning basically. I think the comparison with Otis is really apt, and if I could make a sort of blunt statement, at the moment this is thankfully quite a bit weaker than Otis, and probably not gonna make it quite as far in terms of intensity as Otis did. So you could say that John is like ordering Otis on Temu, pretty much. But the situation is very comparable. In fact, yesterday at this point, I did some research on Otis compared to John, and what I found was that the environment is really very similar. Sort of both had very low wind shear, below 10 knots, and both had very high humidity. Both had about the same ocean heat content, energy, not just confined to the sea surface. In fact, the main difference between the environment for John and the environment for Otis.
Something weird just happened. There is a tsunami advisory in Japan right now.
There is a tsunami advisory right now for some reason.
For what?
Oh, I'm pinging.
I think it's an underground tsunami for some reason, on the underground landslide, I believe, but I don't know why.
I'm pinging right now.
Okay.
That is a very interesting.
Okay, so if you're tuning in now, now we're doing coverage of that as well. I assume now.
Yeah, we double pinged. We're so good at this.
Folks, in, are tuning in.
Are you sure there's not an earthquake?
There was no earthquake.
I don't think there was an earthquake prior to that.
There was a 5.1, but I didn't think there would be a tsunami advisory for that.
Well.
Let me look up the word of tsunami in Japanese. See what the saying or whatever.
Well, now I guess we have to. That is
very
it's a
weird.
very weird
I
situation.
thought I was hearing
Hang
shit.
time.
I thought I was hearing stuff like. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I heard.
No, I
it was like-
definitely
An
was.
earthquake occurred off the coast of Torishima. Okay, David, I'm trying to talk.
Yeah.
At
Okay.
around 8:14, an earthquake occurred off the coast of Torishima. The epicenter was approximately 10 kilometers deep, and the magnitude of the earthquake was estimated to be 5.9.
Okay, I get that's a little bit more reasonable. NHK domestic.
Oh yeah, cause yeah.
Is
'cause
NHK
Global Quake did
doing
show
domestic
earthquake of-
broadcasting?
No, they're not doing domestic broadcast, but they do have this. So this is real. Let's start with that.
Not sure our tsunami advisory. Well,
Global Quake
5.9. Well, 5.9 shouldn't be overly tsunami-genic.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a landslide, submarine landslide.
It could have been. Yeah, it could have been.
I remember there was an earthquake like similar size, 6.1, that caused a small tsunami before in that region of islands. So it has happened before, and I assume because of it happening before, they just issued again just as a precaution.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Global Quake did pick up an earthquake, which was like 4.8, and
Yeah, 5.9 is up on the J-Quake now.
5.9 on J-Quake. Okay, yeah, I see it now.
So for those who are yeah, for those who are tuning in, this is live coverage for Hurricane John and potential tropical storm 9E. However, we just got 9L. But we did just get breaking information that a tsunami advisory has been issued for what prefectures?
It's
Izu
Islands.
Wow, that is
Damn global quake on the software client is picking it up as a 4.8. I'm suing Nathan.
that is quite interesting. But for now, let's turn to this. Hurricane Otis. Again, this is very unexpected, not necessarily unexpected. More of a more of.
It's not like it came out of nowhere, but it's definitely we weren't expecting it to be like such a huge threat to Mexico.
Let me put it this way: when I did the research on the environment yesterday that I just outlined before this tsunami advisory came in, what I was going to say was that the meaningful difference I found between this environment and Otis was that this storm would basically be over the same waters that Otis went over to explode from day one. But at the time, I was like, well, sort of, Otis was a freak incident. I'm sure that's not going to happen again. And, I posted about it on the Discord server, but I didn't post about it on Twitter because, I didn't want to be the wolf that cried boy. Yes, exactly. That's how this saying goes. The boy who cried wolf. But, well, should have cried wolf there, I suppose.
We're gonna leave it.
The statistical models had it coming. The rock intensification guidance is showing it. So
We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep the main headline for Japan, but the whole topic of this stream will be Hurricane John. So we will bring, if there's any updates with the advisories in Japan, we'll let you know. But
yes, there is advisory warnings of up to 1 meter.
This is so weird, bro.
this is
It
yeah.
has happened before.
It was probably very precautionary, honestly.
Yeah, very precautionary.
We'll get more
I know
information
people are
as that
saying it may
continues,
be a
but
volcano.
it could be
And-
that because I think
and-
that's part of the area. That part of Japan is very seismically active with volcanoes.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But
what Nathan says it might be. And he knows more than me, so I'm taking his word more.
But Otis, Otis not only brings a very severe
John.
Sorry. Wow. John John brings a potentially catastrophic storm surge and rainfall threat. There's been some amounts. Someone's echoing, by the way.
Oh, I think it's gonna be me. Is it better now?
Let's see. Yeah, it's barely visible, but it's better than it was now. Than it was. The main thing with this storm, and I saw the NWS issue that rainfall forecast. 25 inches of rain is possible along the, well, not possible, forecasted along the Mexican coast. And a model.
Isn't that locally 30 inches?
Yeah, there's locally 30 inches, but that's around the, I believe, Chiapas and Guerrero side. So, in the states of Guerrero and in Chiapas, flash flooding will be the undoubtedly.
No, the 30 plus inches locally is along, on this forecast from the WPC International Desk, was right along the coast of Oaxaca in a swath of 20 to 30 inches, 500 to 750 millimeters for anybody watching in Mexico, and 750 plus millimeters locally, 30 plus inches. But the Weather Prediction Center forecast was based on an earlier track, so that may no longer be accurate. Either way, that's going to be a lot of rain.
I have something I do want to state. Apparently, according to one of the accounts that I follow, they're saying that the potential tropical cyclone 9's LLC is being shunted down shear under the MLC where the deepest convection is. Basically, they're saying that this could aid in a new circulation and ultimately change the track to a degree.
Oh, they are doing domestic coverage. I don't even know what to stream. I mean, I think right now this is the more urgent threat. I mean, this is just tsunami watches, or not watches, advisories.
As we stated earlier, we believe this is mostly like precautionary.
If there's any updates to this situation, the screen will likely change. You will see this blue mode turn into a darker color. So if anything happens, we will know, and you guys will be able to tell. But
apparently, mic is very low on the stream volume. So
I mean, yeah. Hold on. Let me Mike speak.
Hi.
Okay, there we go. That should be better.
When is the Weather Prediction Center International Desk going to issue a new rainfall forecast? Or are they just not going to do it?
John is still rapidly, I would say rapidly intensifying as we speak. So, this storm has impressively, in about 24 hours, gained its structure. Its structure has looked impeccable. And the only thing that's really hindering this storm right now is if there's an eyewall replacement cycle.
Is there?
But no. That's the only thing that could hinder the storm.
Oh, it could hinder it, yeah. But honestly, it's so close before landfall. Like, I don't think it's gonna do much.
By the way, I do want to say the eye of John is starting to clear significantly. So, yeah.
Yeah, we could be, and this is going to be a storm, folks, where landfall. This storm will strengthen until landfall. And there's just no way of sugarcoating this. If you're watching,
I do want to say, sorry, I don't want to say that right until landfall may not be the case, because with these storms, what you have to consider is the terrain of southern Mexico is quite complex. It's quite rugged. So what we typically see with these storms, which didn't really happen with Otis, but what we typically see is that as
there's a tsunami-like wave.
All right.
There's a tsunami-like wave on the domestic right now.
And we are.
It doesn't look tall, but it looks very tsunami-like.
Where?
On the domestic broadcast.
What is the domestic broadcast?
NHK broadcast.
Yeah, the NHK domestic.
Where are you watching this on?
The NHK website. Look in earthquakes. It's like scroll up a bit.
Okay.
Like, cause there's like the normal tidal waves, like with the wind and stuff. But then it like stopped, and it was like one surge of water. It looked very tsunami-like. It didn't look tall, but it looked very tsunami-like. It's already passed, and I can't go back, but it looked very tsunami-like.
Oh, now
okay, but it just hit the coast and it was small. So
this is such a
That's it?
weird event. What the heck? Wow, this is so weird. This might be a disaster central first.
And then Jacob is all alone in the general VC. He just
Okay.
this man
I
is
do
working
want
for-
to say in regard to John, it looks like in terms of its appearance on infrared, it has been for the last few frames. It has been a little bit like stalling in terms of like improving its like appearance. Although now on the latest frame, it looks like some colder convection is trying it hard to wrap around the northern part of the
Yeah.
eye, where it's more exposed and not as well built. So
what I was going to say is what you often see with these storms, because the terrain of Mexico is quite rugged, is quite complex, that as the center dense overcast begins, as the core of the storm begins to move on shore, they begin to fall apart quite quickly. In fact, until now, is this even making landfall in the state of Oaxaca still? Probably, I don't know. There are no Mexican state boundaries on my GIF, so I can't tell.
The forecast calls for it to make landfall on the border of Oaxaca and Guerrero.
So it may actually make landfall in Guerrero, in which case the strongest landfall would be Otis. The strongest landfall in Oaxaca so far was Hurricane Pauline of 1997, which showed the exact behavior that I'm talking about, where it was a Category 4 before landfall, like on the last track point, but on landfall was only a Category 2, and according to the National Hurricane Center, was because it started to unravel as it came in contact with the Mexican mountains. But again, Otis came into contact with quite similar terrain, and it didn't weaken so quickly. So it remains to be seen. Another part of the reason why the northern side is always going to be more sparse is because you have cold, dry air descending from the mountains and being ingested by the storm. So that's going to hinder it somewhat on that side, but it is wrapping that convection around the north side, fortifying the core. So yeah, it's not showing any signs of weakening. Sorry for that noise.
It's fine. So yeah, this is a disaster central first. So we're covering now two things. We are actively covering Hurricane John, and we will actively discuss PTC-09L in the coming hour. We're also now monitoring a situation that is ongoing in Japan. Tsunami advisories have been issued in Japan, and there has been now confirmed reports, or at least through NHK broadcast, there has been a report of a tsunami-like wave impacting the coastline. Although it's small, although it is very small, that this does not necessarily mean that the threat is over. So just please pay attention. We will be updating you along the way as things go.
Well, yeah, if there was an underwater landslide or something, there could be a second wave after that. I'm not thinking that's going to be the case, but you never know. That was the only wave that came on shore. So yeah. Also, I guess with underwater landslides, you can have a situation where there's a second landslide even after the earthquake has already occurred, because the sea floors become unsettled and sort of barely hanging on, and then I don't know, there's a like small aftershock or whatever, and it just like wiggles it loose. So you never know of these. I mean, we believe this was caused by an underwater landslide, because usually earthquakes of magnitude 6 or lower are not tsunamigenic in this manner. Tsunamigenic meaning causing a tsunami.
Yeah. Questions, comments, concerns, send them in the chat. This team will be here to answer it. We'll be going live for
Yes, I have a concern.
which is
Do you mind changing the battery in your smoke alarm?
bro, my smoke alarm is not even going off. That's not mine.
Smoke detector.
Okay. Anyway, I think it would be good to go over the key messages for John as they are right now from the National Hurricane Center. So this is the key messages for John from the National Hurricane Center for their Advisory 6, which is at this point already 2 hours and 37 minutes old, but the key messages have not really changed over the course of today, or the course of the last 12 hours. It says John is expected to continue rapidly intensifying and is forecast to become a major hurricane before the center reaches the coast of southern Mexico within the hurricane warning area tonight or early Tuesday. Damaging hurricane force winds and life-threatening storm surge are expected within portions of the hurricane warning area. And also says John will bring very heavy rainfall to coastal portions of southern Mexico through this week. That this heavy rainfall will likely cause significant and possibly catastrophic life-threatening flash flooding and mudslides to the Mexican states of Chiapas, Oaxaca, and southeast Guerrero, particularly in areas near the coast. And I will add to this by saying that the winds, we were talking about, there's always pulling an Otis light or whatever, becoming a major hurricane, but it's worth keeping in mind that in a tropical cyclone, even a major one like John is going to be at landfall, water-based hazards like storm surge and freshwater flooding through rainfall kill by far more people on average than the winds. Those are the real dangers, are the flooding from storm surge and from rainfall and the mudslides. That's going to be the real killer here. And believe it or not, in many cases, the rip currents kill more people than the winds in a tropical cyclone. So the winds are really often not as big of a threat as people think they are. Which, of course, does not mean that you should go outside in this storm by any means. In fact, what makes the flooding hazards worse is that you can't necessarily protect yourself from them by being inside, because the water can just come and force its way in and drown you in your house. So always be wary of the water rising, that's what I'm trying to say, which is hard to do if you're staying away from windows that are potentially boarded up. Yeah, it's just a bad situation for everybody in the landfall area. Said it before with, I think it was on the, was it Francine landfall coverage? It's just a bad situation overall if you're at the coast, because if you want to protect yourself from the wind, you want to stay on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, away from windows, but that's not necessarily where you're wanting to be against the storm surge and the freshwater flooding. So, yeah. That's why, which of course in this case I don't think was the case, but will probably the case with Helene, which we're going to talk about in a moment, what I just discussed. That is the reason why you follow mandatory evacuation orders and do not stay behind.
Was there an evacuation order in Mexico?
I don't think there was. I'm not aware of it. There may have been. I don't know. Wait, actually, I think we have a contact I could ask, because believe it or not, we actually know someone who works in, like, Mike, where does he work?
Oaxaca or
Yeah,
Chiapas, I think.
no. But like, what field again? Like disaster
Civil
management or
protection,
whatever?
civil
Civil
protection
protection.
agency.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he may know the answer. I'm gonna ping him. Do you know about any evacuation orders in the case of John? Question mark. Okay, there you go. I just asked him. Now we wait
Yeah, we'll wait for
this
that answer
very
for you.
important information. Anyway, yeah. You want to continue talking about John or talk about Helene?
For this hour, which will be coming to an end in about 20 minutes, we'll talk about exclusively John.
Okay,
And then
we're
we'll
probably
talk.
gonna wait about waiting until the next advisory comes out, and
Yeah, when does the next advisory come out, by the way?
then next intermediate advisory
like
is
10 minutes. It's like
Yeah.
top of the hour, but they never do it at the top of the hour.
Okay, so we're waiting for that now. Let me just show you.
And then then
Let me just show you what it looks like on actual colored satellite. And you can see now the eye is beginning to clear out a bit. It's struggling because it's still wobbling around, but the actual eye, or the actual convection is still continuing to happen. Now, whether or not this is permanent convection, in which if it is, then that's very bad news, or if this is going to be the beginning of a massive blow up of thunderstorms, we don't know. However, what this does signify is that these storms are continuing to blow off and they're continuing to pop up, which will cause more of a catastrophic rainfall event and potentially storm surge event from John into Chiapas, Oaxaca, Guerrero, and all that stuff. So, all of those people. So this is a very, very bad time event because there's many parts that are going into this that are not being discussed. That we can discuss if we do decide to do landfall coverage, which I don't see why not. I think we're an hour.
very hard to tell because the track is still meandering. There's still a chance it parallels the coast for quite a while, and yeah, we don't know. I don't know. I don't want to make a call on it either way at this point. What I do want to say is a thing I just decided to look up. So because in terms of the rainfall, which I mentioned earlier, just looked up the satellite sort of base estimate for the rainfall, and the rainfall rates in the San Andreas overcast convection are probably around 40 millimeters every hour. So that's about how many inches? It doesn't matter. Mexico doesn't use inches. And yeah, that's for an hour rain rate. The Americans can take my word for it. It's not an insubstantial amount per hour. And what you're probably going to have as this makes landfall is the complex terrain will make it worse in terms of rainfall because you have all the updraft and downdrafts from the mountains, which just tends to invigorate thunderstorm activity once the center has moved over land, which is actually quite counterintuitive. The thunderstorms will continue to blow up for quite a while, but they will, in terms of organization, it will rapidly come apart. Like we saw with Otis when it made landfall, like it was this very well-defined hurricane when it came on shore, and like 12 hours later, poof, it was gone. There was nothing left. Like it was just destroyed, shredded to pieces. And it's probably gonna happen with this as well. But
Actually, I want to know. Looking at the latest imagery, there is a tiny but yet a bit surprising area of negative 90-degree cloud tops, just over a few miles from the eye. And I don't know if Felix can see it, but if you do see it, and when you do see it, I'll ask you: do you think this could be the start of potentially a more dramatic intensification event in which the eye begins to clear out and we'll see a more concentrated core?
I think it's just the rapid intensification continuing at a steady rate at this point, or like, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a more substantial rate of intensification, and like when I'm saying not more substantial, I think it's worth reminding everyone of the current rate of intensification, which is the official best track intensification, which is 40 knots. That is, let me quickly put this in a unit of measurement that normal brains can understand, which is 46 miles per hour, 75 kilometers per hour, 45 miles per hour within just 12 hours. That is more than twice rapid intensification criteria. So, and we assume landfall on or around 6 a.m. UTC, probably a bit earlier. We are talking about a 110 to 120 knots, 205 kilometer to 220 kilometer per hour landfall at that rate were to continue through landfall. So, I mean, if this were to increase in rate of intensification, then it's truly gonna pull a notice. I don't think it has time to do that because the center is almost on shore. Also, gotten word from the person we know that there are no mandatory evacuation orders as of now, but they're ordering people to keep watch. All schools are shut down. Shelters are being activated, which makes me think that if they're going to issue a mandatory evacuation order, it's going to be for the flooding, not for the winds. Because if you want to issue one for the winds, you should have done it like 24 hours ago, right? So there's no point. But the flooding will probably continue, flooding rainfall will probably continue for another day or two, and therefore it's probably related to the flooding, which is reasonable because, again, the flooding will probably be more dangerous. But yes. I also wanted to say, while we're topic of winds, that according to all available tools, and I think surface observation videos from Mexico are also backing this up. Tropical storm force winds have come on shore in Oaxaca and even parts of Guerrero as of right now, which means that it is now pretty much too late to make any further preparations to protect life and property. The Corps of John is almost on shore. No one has any business being outside under these conditions. It's just too dangerous to do anything. And therefore, anything anybody can do who is in the landfall area is just hunker down and hope for the best at this point. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry. I am currently attempting to
Yeah, I see what you're doing. I think he actually has to go to work. It's disaster. What is it like? Oh, I forgot what it is again. He actually has to go work doing the serious work, not the yakkening.
I mean, this is just flat out a terrible situation for Mexico, period. I mean, the fact that there was no mandatory evacuations issued or declared, just in the first place, is worrying, considering the fact. And unfortunately, this has to do with the fact that this storm, although models have been hinting it, there's been a lot of inconsistency into where this is going to make landfall, where the cone is going to look like, what the intensity will look like. Hell, we don't even know if this is a major hurricane or not. So,
I mean, you're saying the models were hitting at it. Interesting, these statistical models were, like, those are just looking at the, environment, the numbers, comparing it to the climatological data, and then, saying what statistically was going to happen. They were hinting at, the major hurricane landfall, that sort of thing. The regular, like, dynamical models, the ones of people who are at least a bit in tune with like weather stuff to the point where they know about like modeling and stuff, that they think of the dynamical models. Like they were not showing. They're completely like have no clue what's going on still. And it is a bad situation. There are no evacuation orders, but again, to be fair to the Mexican government, as of yesterday evening, as of 24 hours ago, the National Hurricane Center was still forecasting a tropical storm landfall in the state of Guerrero, and not a major hurricane in the state of Oaxaca. And the Mexican government will have very much relied on the official RSMC forecast from the National Hurricane Center for this storm. But to be fair to the National Hurricane Center, there was no way to make a clear major forecast for a major hurricane in Guerrero as of yesterday, based on modeling. Major hurricane in Guerrero than in Oaxaca. And further, in fact, the area that one could have reasonably forecast a major hurricane about 24 to 36 hours ago is not even under tropical storm warning anymore at this point. That's how far the models have trended to track further north. It's just a very difficult situation to forecast, unfortunately. And the people of, I assume, I guess you could say, bad modeling. No?
Yeah, hold on.
I don't know why it's labeled like that on the website he was on. It's still 1 meter.
Yeah, it's still a tsunami advisory.
I know what website that guy was on where it's called tsunami warning.
Oh, breaking news. Breaking news.
Do we have the advisory?
Major Hurricane John. Wait, is it Major Hurricane John?
105 miles per hour.
No, not a major hurricane.
Not. Hurricane John, intermediate advisory number 6A. Eye wall of John very near the coast, damaging hurricane force winds. Live threatening storm surge and flash flooding are imminent, says the National Hurricane Center. There are no new watches and warnings in effect. The hurricane warning remains in effect from east of Acapulco to Bahias de Huatulco, which I probably butchered. A tropical storm warning is in effect for east of Bahias de Huatulco to Salina, Cruz. At 600 p.m. CST 000 UTC, the center of Hurricane John was located near latitude 15.9 degrees north, longitude 98.6 degrees west. John is moving towards the north near 8 miles per hour, 15 kilometers per hour. A slow motion to the north or north-northwest is expected during the next 24 hours. On the forecast track, the center of John is forecast to move inland along the coast of southern Mexico late tonight or early Tuesday. Maximum sustained winds have increased to near 105 miles per hour, 165 kilometers per hour, with higher gusts. John is a Category 2 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. Additional strengthening is possible over the next few hours, and John could become a major hurricane before making landfall along the coast of southern Mexico. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 10 miles, 20 kilometers from the center. It's a pretty small wind field. Tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 45 miles, 75 kilometers from the center. Estimated minimum central pressure is 970 millibars, 28.64 inches of mercury. So that is the newest data on Hurricane John. Yeah.
I'm currently attempting to fix the coordinates for the graphic.
Also, I wanted to say that on the what was it? It was the 1700 UTC intermediary advisory. They had what was it that? No, I think it was the morning advisory, the 1100 UTC advisory. The National Hurricane Center had the intensity at 55 knots, but on the ATCF, the Automated Tropical Cyclone Forecasting System, 1 hour later, the fix was for 60 knots. So I would not rule out the next fix which would then probably be the same intensity as the advisory 2 hours later, would be a major hurricane. Because, yeah, the analysis for this advisory is probably about an hour old or so. Because, it takes time to make this advisory, intermediary advisory. So,
Hold on, I'm trying to
Also-
pull out a live cam.
also during that time, another thing that's gonna change is they're gonna get, because when they estimate the intensity of tropical cyclones, they use like automated, which is like computerized intensity estimates, and they're using that in combination with subjective fixes. That is a human looking at the storm and saying, "Oh, I think this is this and that intensity." Very simply put. And for the 00Z HCF update, they will get the new subjective fix from the satellite analysis branch, which will probably be the crucial thing in deciding whether they make this a category 3 or not. It's gonna be that subjective fix, or I suppose subjective fix from TAFB, Tropical Analysis and Forecasting Branch, which cannot see, but yeah.
Just waiting for these ads to go away. Are they away? Well, we don't have access to live cams in Mexico, so right now you are stuck with. At least for now, I'll look for cameras as we talk about the next storm in the Atlantic. But right now, you are looking at live cameras here in Houston, where the situation in Houston continues to are continuing to worsify, as we're now expecting a cold front in Houston, which will be accompanied by a ton of rain. So that is how Houston is looking like, and we will be going into a break in about 2 minutes. We'll change our discussion to now PTC 09L. As for now, the last, of course, our priority is on John, but we will be discussing PTC 09L because that's the biggest threat and the closest threat to the United States. We'll be right back with more coverage after the break. See you soon. Just 2, 1. No, we are back on the air. We are now discussing potential tropical cyclone 9L as we are about to transition into that, and there we are. So here it
About
is.
the tsunami.
Here it is. I will talk about that in a few minutes. Here it is. This is the structure of PTC09L. It was looking very good earlier, but I guess D max or D minimum happened, so there's not much convection going on with it. Yeah, D minimum happened. There's not much convection going on it, but it has a very decent structure. The main concern with this one is models. It's been going everywhere, but generally, models have had or have showed a big time intensification path. The GFS notably has showed a 949.47 millibar hurricane making landfall over in Cedar Point.
Okay, Nathan, or not Nathan, Cooked. Dave, I'm gonna interrupt you. Okay, this is definitely bigger than 50 centimeters. I just talked to Nathan.
Yeah, I'm not gonna switch calls.
Agree, like, it's still surging. Like, we both agree that it's definitely bigger than 50 centimeters.
Where's this guy? Want to comment on the...
David is trying to get all the expert opinions here.
I mean, if they want to. I mean, the main focus was PTC09L for now. But yeah, we did have a very weird event happen. But let's just, for now, if he does decide to join, for now, models have notably shown a very strong intensification path for this storm, notably the GFS. But however, other models kind of seem to be in agreement that this could be a major hurricane. Notably, and I guess the more far-fetched one, the H-halves B was showing quite a peculiar, quite an interesting model run in which this storm made landfall, or not made landfall, but intensified as an 888 millibar hurricane. Now, obviously, that won't happen. At least I think.
Yeah, it won't happen. The news. Okay, I think the news model run. Yeah, I think what Arctic said earlier is true. That the newest model runs from halves A and halves B are not going to be viable because they're showing they're showing a 70 knot landfall in the Big Bend area. Yeah, that's not going to happen either. So just like the last cycle was showing an 888 millibar, which would be, I think, the second lowest pressure, right? Wilma had a lower pressure, right? Wasn't it like
886, 884 potentially?
Atlantic hurricanes by pressure. But yeah, the latest, it's 882 millibars. This would tie, so this forecast, which again will not happen, can almost rule out that this will happen.
Almost cooked.
Almost. The environment is very favorable. Almost though. If that were to verify, it would tie Hurricane Gilbert of 1988 for the second lowest pressure in the Atlantic at 888 millibars. But again, probably won't happen. The newest forecast from halves A and halves B, which were showing these bonkers sub 900 millibar storms, are now only showing a Category 1 landfall in the Big Bend. I also don't think that's going to happen. Talked about this with another member of the team with Arctic like an hour or two ago. It does not look like the latest HAFS models have initialized correctly.
We have a breaking news notification coming out, special report. NHK is now confirming a 50-centimeter tsunami has struck Japan. However, other people are arguing, and there's a potential that this tsunami is larger. The breaking news coming out of Japan, coming out of NHK, a 50-meter tsunami has hit portions of Japan. This is in the city regions of Tokyo, in the city island regions in Tokyo. That is the special report. 50-centimeter waves. A tsunami advisory remains in Itsu and Ogasawara Islands in Japan. So that is a breaking news report that is just coming in. That's a breaking news flash that has come in, and ultimately that is becoming more and more the trend. Interestingly enough, we did see, according through reports, there was potentially a larger wave. Just remember that if you are under a tsunami advisory, to take this seriously, because tsunamis, even if they're small, they still can knock your feet down. They can still knock your feet out of the ground. So please, if there's sirens, evacuate when you're told to. But for now, that is the breaking news. For breaking news, in coming out. Oh wow! Okay, coming in Japan. So there it is. Switching back to this, Ron DeSantis, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, has declared a state of emergency, I believe, for 26 counties. Let me just type that headline.
And that is, well, if I have this headline, I can jump in and say that is why I am very certain that in about a day, possibly as early as about a day, or at the very latest 2 days from now, there will be mandatory evacuation orders for the expected landfall area. And as I discussed earlier, if this is a major hurricane in landfall, which it probably will be, you do not want to be in the landfall area at landfall. If there's a mandatory evacuation order, those are not issued for fun or because the government's trying to bully you or trying to nag you or trying to annoy you or inconvenience you or anything. They're issued for your safety and for the safety of first responders who are not supposed to go out in these conditions. I mean, yes, it is their job, but like not in conditions that are barely survivable for human beings. And to be clear, in many situations, in many cases, when there's a mandatory evacuation order, the emergency services will not come to your aid until the storm has passed because they are in their shelter. They're not going out because you were, frankly speaking, too stupid to follow the government's advice.
And
the
this
U.S. government is not yet doing what other countries are doing. Is in some countries you are literally forced that the government will already come to your door and force you to get out. The U.S. government not quite doing that when there is a quote unquote mandatory evacuation or your punishment for disobeying it is sort of not getting any help. But as I discussed earlier, there's really no reason for you to stay behind. There's nothing you can do. Like once the hurricane is hitting, you should, right now, if you're in the general area of the landfall zone, from sort of Tallahassee, Panama City area to Tampa, which will probably see some impacts from storm surge and whatnot. And also if you are in, even more so if you're Yucatan, Western Cuba, anybody watching this from Cuba, shout out. What you should be doing is, well, if you're in Yucatan, I think, oh wait, is there already a hurricane watch in effect for Cuba? David, this would have been your time to be prepared and give me the answer right away. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I was not paying attention. I was dealing with something else.
There's a tropical storm warning and a hurricane watch for Yucatan and Cuba. This means if there's a hurricane watch, you should begin to put your hurricane plan into motion. You should be. I hope you have a hurricane plan. You should be, doing things. And if you are in the eventual landfall area, please, from sort of the, what would this be, like Panama City, even but west of Panama City on the cone, sort of the Pensacola area all the way to Tampa Bay. You should
Yeah.
be looking at your hurricane plan, thinking about what you're going to do, and then once those watches go out, you start making those preparations, boarding up those windows, placing those sandbags, doing the things, and then once the mandatory evacuation order comes out, which is probably with the hurricane warning, once you do that, you finish up your last preparations and then you go away. You drive. You don't wait caught on the highway while this thing is sitting. You drive soon as your preparations are done. You go away. There's nothing you could do. If you stay behind, you're just gonna be left between choosing to stay safe from the winds or stay safe from the surge, which you can't stay 100% safe from both. So you shouldn't be there. That's the only way to not die.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we should let's go over the warnings for PTC 09L. The government of the Cayman Islands has issued a tropical storm warning for Grand Cayman. A hurricane watch is in effect from Cabo Catoche to Tulum, Mexico. The Cuban province of Pinar del Rio. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Grand Cayman, Rio Lagartos to Tulum, Mexico, and Cuban provinces of Artemisa, Pinar del Rio, and the Isle of the Youth. A tropical storm watch now is in effect for Dry Tortugas and the lower keys of 7 Mile Bridge. A tropical storm warning or watch means that conditions are favorable. Or tropical storm warning means that tropical storm conditions are favorable anywhere within the warning area, generally within the next 24 to 36 hours. A hurricane watch means that hurricane conditions are possible within the watch area. A watch typically is issued 48 hours before the anticipated first occurrence of tropical storm force winds. Conditions that make outside preparations difficult or dangerous. A tropical storm watch means that tropical storm force conditions are possible within the watch area, generally within 48 hours. So that is what they mean, and obviously there will be changes to these advisories and watches and warnings, and more likely than not, we will continue to see them as we speak. Now, we are also waiting for the 8 p.m. update and see whether or not, first of all, John will make landfall, and also whether or not PTC 09L will be upgraded to a tropical depression. More likely than not, we will begin to see that tomorrow. And in which, by that happens, we will be prepared for that and stream it to you. Let's go over.
And I just want to dive real quickly. We're going to stream, and I'm also going to prepare a video tomorrow. Probably come out around anywhere from 2 to 8 p.m. like EDT is probably when it's going to come out. On PDC 9L. So that point may already be Helene. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to make a video on it. Know the drill. If you don't know the drill, you subscribe. Everything you need to know. And probably don't need to know, but I like to yap about it anyway. And yeah.
Hold on, let me just check the stats really quick. So yeah, we are waiting on the advisory. Our plan for this stream is to continue forth for about 40 more minutes, and then I will take the decision whether or not to continue to go live and all that stuff. But I mean, you know what? We should actually spend the rest of the time speaking about how inactive this hurricane season, at least for the Atlantic, has been. It has been historic.
Wait, David, before we do that, I'm gonna go very quickly, go brush my teeth so I can go right into my bed, into my German bed once we're done, because, yes.
Okay. So while we wait for that, we should go over some models, actually. I think that's a pretty good idea to go over models. So let's actually do that. And what you're looking at will be sorry, I don't know what I just did, but let me just fix that really quick. And what you are looking at is the GFS 6-hour run, and this run lasts for various purposes, but let's go over that. And this is going to be used specifically for PTC09L. So you can see it here coming in, and right now it has it in about 48 hours, so basically in 2 days from now, as a 989 tropical storm, potentially small weekend hurricane. And then as it moves into Florida, you begin to see that intensification path. So it really takes that path and that route of oh, that's the wrong thing. It really takes the route of moving barely, almost stalling at the Yucatan Peninsula, and then going off. Now, what this does implicate, and there are implications to this, is that when this actually does, because there's a jet stream that forms off here, and you'll see that low pressure system right over here with those isotope millibars. What you'll see is, because this storm is actually interacting with this sort of jet interference, this is actually going to push it a little bit more south, and it will slow it down. It will slow down over Georgia. And obviously, it's seen here, it goes over Georgia for multiple days, 2 days, and then it just dies out. However, and the European model, which we can go to the EC fast, the Euro model tends to suggest something else. Now, the European model has an underconvective bias, which practically means that the convection, they don't tend to convect things very well. Now, this is the ECWRF. See, we can go to precipitation. There we go. And this, in this case, they have a 983 millibar hurricane, which would be a Category 1, potentially a low-end Category 2. It just depends. And then it stays there, and it actually, you see it interact with another low-pressure system that is up here, and you'll actually see it here, a low-pressure system that's interacting with this, and it will cause this storm to pretty much pull out. And let me just make it a little bit clearer. You'll see this low pressure system here, and with this one, it'll move around and it'll interact, which will pretty much put this entire area under risk for heavy rain and flooding. So again, there's various factors that are going into this. At least this is the European solution. It goes into Ohio, it goes into Indiana, and then it will actually kind of combine with that low pressure system, go back to Illinois, and it'll be gone by then. The Icon, the CMC, the Canadian model, they don't go that far, but they do have a... Actually, they have another system forming off. Never mind. But this model actually shows a 975 millibar, which would be a Category 2 to low-end Category 3 hurricane making landfall over Florida near Mexico Beach. If you are living in that panhandle of Florida, you will recall how bad Michael was, how bad Idalia was. So just be aware. The NavGem, which is the German model, they don't show much. They probably don't go into much, but they have this system actually intensifying to a 958 millibar hurricane, which is a Category 3 period. There's not much other classification for it. The Icon, which is another German model, has it going into, actually it takes a much more eastern approach into Tampa as a 969 millibar hurricane, which would be a Category 3. So they have a lot of... In conclusion, they have major hurricanes. They do have major hurricanes. Now, if we look at the H-Wharf, and this is for... Sorry. And this is for... Here we go. Can we get the... And this is for what was I gonna say? 9L. If you see the H wharf, they actually have a really impressive structure here at first, but then it kind of wiggles out. So another trend with a lot of these overperforming models is that small weakening. Now, if we look at the parent model, the H wharf parent, they show a lot similar. They show something similar, but it just goes out. It continues to go out. And that's the overall trend with this system. The H-Wharf parent has this go out, and it just spreads out with that culmination of that low pressure system. Who are we joined by here? We're joined by Ace. How are we doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How about you?
We're doing all right. We've been talking about 9L. By the way, Ace lives in Florida. Is your county by any chance under state of emergency or?
I don't think so. I'd have to check actually.
I don't think so either, but I guess we'll find out eventually through it. But Florida now likely could become the scene of two hurricane landfalls in a year. If we look at the H-halves A, this is for 9L. They have a more outlandish scenario. So I would take this scenario with a very, very massive grain of salt. They have this rapidly intensifying, actually no, not rapidly intensifying, rapidly weakening before landfall, making landfall at around the same area where it made landfall with Michael, near Mexico Beach, near Pensacola, as a 968 millibar hurricane. Now, what does this imply for the farther out regions? If we go into, access to that, never mind. The implications would be that Florida, Central Florida, Southern Florida will see a lot of rain with this. Probably where we would be speaking anywhere from 8 to a foot of rain, with potentially localized amounts of up to 16 to 18 inches of rain. So there is a lot to do. There's a lot in the system that should be discussed with this. Now, let me just show you. Let me show you the previous model run with the 12Z. The 12Z had a very outlandish prediction, but they had it trending for 3 runs. The HAPS A had an 899 millibar hurricane, so Category 5, make landfall over Florida, and that would have been, if this was to verify, this would be the worst hurricane ever. Period. There's no point. There's no way of sugarcoating it. Florida, Miami, Tampa, Orlando, those areas will be engulfed in 40 to 50 mile per hour winds, and likely rainfall accumulations of a foot in a majority of these areas. Now the HAPS parent, they actually have a more realistic scenario, 966 millibar hurricane, and then it goes off. In terms of the HAPS B, actually this was the 18Z. Let me check the 12Z. Yeah, they actually had this scenario had winds of 158 knots. So that is, let's convert that really quick. Knots to miles per hour. So they had a 180 millibar 180 mile per hour hurricane going into Florida. Of course, before landfall, it weakens to a 900 millibar hurricane, 141 knots, which is still Category 1 or Category 5 actually. Let me just make sure that is 141. Yeah, 160 mile per hour, Cat 5. That was the HAPS A model. So
I come back to the words 165, not Category 5.
Yes. I
What
show
the
these.
hell were you yapping about?
I
What's
show
going on?
these. I show these models, and I show these models just for the fun of it. Please don't take these models seriously. Please don't. I beg you don't.
Yeah, please don't.
Please don't take this model seriously.
Especially
The halves
especially not
B.
the halves A, especially not the halves A or B, because, and again, I gotta reiterate this six times today on Discord. Like, according to Andy Hazelton, who developed the halves models, co-developed the halves models, you should not consider them to be generally reliable when we are talking about the invest stage. There was not enough tuning data used from invests for these models to be reliable. They're gonna do some weird outputs. Like, I'm pretty sure the ones David's showing you, on one run it's a category 5, and on the next run it's a category 1. It's
Yes.
just that the halves A has no clue what's going on right now. The H Dwarf notably is a bit better, at least in the sense that it is more consistent in terms of showing the high-end category 4, low-end category 5 scenario, H Dwarf, Hmon. So again, I suppose W for the legacy models? Question mark.
I just wanna.
Halves A B is washed anyway.
I just wanna reiterate. I showed these models for the fun of it. The halves B right now, the halves B at the 12Z had a 185 mile per hour hurricane, not making landfall, but a few, I guess, 100 miles from Florida. Eventually, would make landfall as a 919 millibar hurricane with winds of, let me convert this, 102 knots. So Cat 3 919 millibar hurricane. Take this with a grain of salt. The 18Z model, a lot better.
A grain of salt. That's a tablespoon of salt.
The halves B on this model on the 18Z a lot better, a lot more realistic. 966 millibar hurricane making landfall, as many models have been showing.
More realistic. Not sure that's more realistic. The latest halves output is equally as unrealistic, I would say. It's just on the other side. In fact, what Maple said over in Mike's server.
Breaking news! This is involving John. State of emergency now declared in the state of. Can I get this? Let me get this verified. State of emergency declared in Oaxaca and Guerrero.
I can't roll my R's.
State of emergency, Oaxaca, and breaking. That is your breaking news. That is that was what we wanted to hear. Unfortunately, when they did this, they're now like an hour away from landfall. So
yeah, but again, the flooding, as I said earlier, the flooding will continue for quite a while. Interestingly,
yeah.
the latest GFS also being very bearish on. Sorry, just seeing that. Very bearish on PDC 9L. Very big downward from that model too, which the invest tuning thing does not apply to. But again, I would not take any model that comes out of this stage as very serious. National Hurricane Center going to the major hurricane landfall. As I wanted to say, what Maple said in the main server is actually surprisingly realistic. He said 888 and 978, the mean is 933 millibar. So that's what it will peak at, which is, possibly a bit low. At least it's lower than AHC intensity. But one thing I have to consider with the 18Z models too is that typically for data collection reasons, the 18Z and to a lesser extent the 06Z, that's Z being UTC models, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. cycles are worse performing than the noon and midnight cycles, because those are the ones that have the radios on, the weather balloon data, and these model runs don't have that. So they're sort of extrapolating, like estimating a bunch of stuff and then calculating based on that, generally less reliable. It's usually manifests in like drunk model runs that like show unrealistic like strengthening, but I guess maybe in this case it just showed unrealistic not strengthening. Maybe I don't know. I have to wait and see. We will know a lot more about the future intensity of Helene as it will become once the center has formed. Once we have a tropical storm, then we will have a much better idea of where this is going to go intensity wise, I think. Until then, anything model wise is just for entertainment purposes mainly.
We'll be live for another 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
9
Do you want to
minutes.
talk about the quiet nature of the Atlantic Ocean?
Yes,
You
yes.
already did that? Or
No, well, no, I haven't
did
talked
you
it
do
yet,
that
but
now?
I mean, if you want to now, just end it
I
off
mean,
with
it
like
has been
conversation like that.
I mean, it has been awfully quiet so far. We have blown through peak season window in the Atlantic, 10th, no, not 10th, 1st through 20th of September is basically the peak season window. We have blown like right through that without much activity at all. Did Francine happen in that window?
I
Was
think
it earlier?
Francine happened on the 11th of September.
Yeah, okay, so Francine happened in that window, but other than that, nothing really happening during peak season. Now it feels like peak season, doesn't it? We have this. We have another cherry in in the in the Atlantic. We have John. Cherry being high probability of formation.
This
Mark
is
it down
a
on the NHC forecast.
this is a fun fact, but if I think you told me this. If John or Helene became a major hurricane, this would be like the what, fourth major northern hemisphere hurricane, or
Now, the fact I said earlier was that it would only be that if John comes into Category 3, it would only be the second to peak at that intensity this year because all other hurricanes are in either Category 2 or 4. Um,
oh, of category 3.
that's
Yeah,
the
okay.
one thing. And an NHC forecast is having okay. And yeah, okay, John just like wrapped the deep convection all the way around the center. Okay, John. John really trying to put in its application to be a major hurricane at the landfall advisory.
All right, we have more
Okay, yeah.
news to report. NHK now confirming that there's been 3 reports of tsunamis. The biggest one happening at 8:58 in the morning, with a 50-centimeter tsunami or half a meter wave. The rest happen at around 9:11 in the morning, with both of them being 10 centimeters being recorded, or 0.1 meter. So that is the update. And for those who are tuning in wondering what we are on about, there was a tsunami advisory, and I think it's still issued. I think it's still in effect. But there was a tsunami advisory issued for portions of Japan in the Tokyo region, in the Ogasawa Islands. And there's another earthquake. Hold on, another earthquake in Japan. 4.4.
It's not. It's just a 4.1 off Kyushu.
But is it related, or was it?
No,
Oh, okay.
it's like on the west side of Japan.
Okay, sorry guys, my bad. I'm just going through texts, scrolling through information. Our plans for tomorrow. I will be gone from rehearsal, or gone from the house for a good until like 6 p.m. Not 6 p.m. 5:30? 5:30 or 6:30? I don't know. Hold on, let me make sure. Let me just make sure. So Sorry, it's taking. Oh, breaking.
Breaking news. Let me quickly confirm this. I'm not sure where he's getting this information from. Wait, hold on. I need to independently confirm. Journalism. Hashtag journalism. Hashtag.
Alright, bro, just get to it.
No. We need independent confirmation. Oh my god, where's the? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Breaking news: the National Hurricane Center has upgraded John to major hurricane status. Latest update from the National Hurricane Center on the automated tropical cyclone forecasting system has it as a 185 kilometers per hour, 115 miles per hour, Category 3 on the Safford-Simpson scale, with a minimum sea level pressure of 962 millibars. Center is now at 15.9 degrees of northern latitude, 98.6 degrees of western longitude.
962 millibars?
Yes.
So I dropped 8 millibars in an hour?
Yes. John is a major hurricane. Why didn't Mango ping? He has moderator. Or insert swear word here. Save. Okay. So yeah, John is now a major hurricane. What a news to, I suppose, still end the coverage on that. John is now a major hurricane. Landfall, again, imminent. This is now an extremely dangerous major hurricane on the Safford-Simpson scale. And yeah, that is, again, all the other things are still true. If you are in the landfall area, the hurricane warning area, all you can do is hunker down at this point. The tropical force winds are already on shore. The 50-knot winds are coming on shore as I speak, if they're not on shore already. And yeah, there's nothing really you can do other than, hunker down and pray, I suppose, if you're the praying type. If you're not the praying type, then there's truly nothing you can do other than, well, hunkering down and just, like, I don't know, thinking good thoughts, I assume. I don't know.
Well, that is a breaking news now, and we're updating that the tickers as we speak. Hurricane John now intensifying into a major hurricane with winds of 115 miles per hour, sustained pressure of 962 millibars. What's the motion of direction?
ATCF, the PL.top does not have a motion update in there. So I don't think the motion is updated on the ATCF. No, it's not. So we don't know. The wind field is still so small. Radius of maximum winds is 10 nautical miles. Hurricane force winds only extending 10 nautical miles, or 18 kilometers from the center on the northern side. There are no hurricane force winds on the southern side, according to NHC, but that was on the last advisory, so I have to wait and see what the newest one is. That is the only sources update as of yet, and there's just like a bit. Oh my God, they're still waiting. Last time the NHC did this, they issued an updated advisory. Did they do that actually? Let me check. They usually drop like an update to their advisory. They have not yet, so that's something we're still waiting on. Probably will happen on top of the hour. That they put an update.
Yeah, we're gonna end the stream here, folks. Felix, any closing thoughts?
Well, closing thought is, again, John being extremely dangerous, imminent threat to land, and of course Helene, as a major hurricane forecast on landfall, is expected to be a extremely dangerous hurricane when it comes on shore. So closing thought is, because again, the people in John's path can't really do much at this point other than hunker down. If you are in the path of Helene, if you are in, as I said earlier, if you're in Yucatan, if you're in Cuba, you're under hurricane watch, it's time to put your hurricane plan into motion. If you are in the sort of, as I said, from Pensacola to Tampa Bay area, it's time to look at your hurricane plan, think about what you're going to do, what you have to do, and then once a hurricane hurricane watch comes out, it's time to put that plan into motion, board the windows, sandbags, you know what it is. If you don't have a hurricane plan, by the way, yet, now is your time to make one so you can put it into motion tomorrow. And as I said, when hurricane warnings come out, probably going to come with mandatory evacuation orders, and then you get the heck out of there and go away. And as hard as it may be, as much as it may hurt, you leave your house behind. You hope it's still there when you come back. And
monetary damage is replaceable. A human life is not replaceable.
Exactly.
All right, well, that's gonna do it here at Disaster Central.
Let me say one more thing. You don't want to get to the gates of heaven and have God ask you, why do you not evacuate? So please evacuate.
All right, that's gonna do it here at Disaster Central. We will be back, I believe, tomorrow for more discussion on potential tropical cyclone 9L. Thank you, Felix. Thank you to all the contributors that have been here. Felix, Mike, Arctic, and of course, Groudon and Ace. Thank you guys you guys so much for being here. You guys are now dismissed. This is going to do it for Disaster Central. From all of us here, we thank you. Good night.